Hey guys, it's Tanya with Scraptastic Creations. Today I have a huge layout share for you. And I have 53 layout pages here. So let's get started. On these first two pages, this is the Country Woods paper collection by Stampin' Up. I love this paper collection. It's one of my favorites. So it's a collection of all different wood grain patterns, and it's amazing. And I use this in a lot of my videos. You'll see I add one of these wood grains into one of my paper collections because who doesn't love a good wood grain? But here I use it exclusively with cardstock. And when I picked out this color cardstock, I thought of sand to kind of went with the theme of my layout. And I did some really fun techniques. There's some stamping in the background and some ink distressing along the edges using a blending tool. I even did some inking on like these sand dollars with a blending brush. And I combined I took my dies, I stamped on my dies, and then I took dies and just added ink to them. And here I stamped right on the pattern paper and used this, if you can see, this is a circle die that has like these little dots cut out of it. And I just stamped some of my images on there, and I really like, or some of my words on there, and I like how that looks. So this was a trip I took with my husband celebrating our 25-year wedding anniversary. And it was also our first time in Key West, and we loved it. So for my title, I did a little stamping with some letters, and then I took these alphabet a la mode dies, and I cut them out twice. Once in this darker color and once in this colored wood grain paper, and just offset that and glue that directly on my photo. And my photo is kind of popped up with some foam tape. I also used foam tape like on my turtle. I stamped it twice, and I stamped in this darker brown and then used my blending brush and put some ink on top of that. And just to give it a little bit more realistic look. And then I also, on these, I have some glue in between there, some foam tape, just to give those like a little bit more dimension and a little bit more realistic look. And I really liked that. So this is in my page protector. It's cut from here to here, and this is an interactive page. So this part sticks out of my so it's in like this, and it's cut from here to here, and this part is sticking out of my page protector. That way there you don't have to slide my layout in and out of the page protector, and it'll help preserve it more, and there'll be less damage. But I created this basic journaling tag and added some more words. I stamped them on the wood grain paper there. Just used a pen and a ruler and added some journaling lines. And I need to do my journaling. I haven't done that yet, so I have to do that before I put it away. Honestly, I just forgot about it. Oh boy, these next pages, these were a lot of fun to do. This is a card kit. So this was the City Sites card kit. My brother, Chuck, this was his first baby, little Chucky. So also named after my brother, named after his grandfather, my father, and then named after my dad's dad. So little Chucky is the fourth, and Chuck didn't think he'd ever be able to have children. And my dad, fun story, you should watch this video. My dad didn't even know that they were having a baby until they brought him home to him. And he was also born on my dad's birthday. So namesake and born on his birthday. What a present that was, right? So this card kit had this fun little city stamp, and when I put this on here, I added some foam tape behind this piece here to give it the illusion of like you were looking into the city, and there was like, many layers of buildings. So I really liked that. I did some stamping around this piece of blue here for my title, and then just some sponging on here before I stamped my title in black. And then I used tags to create embellishments. So I embossed some of these tags, I stamped on some of these tags, I edge distressed them, and I did this here. I added that same stamping technique, and then I just edge distressed and stamped that little hello baby. I loved that. And then I had these stamps in this old stamp. It's a super old stamp by Close to My Heart. It was in my stash. So this tag, this will also stick outside of my page protector. So here's my journaling. This is a really cool story, y'all. Christine, his mama, almost died giving birth to him, or shortly after giving birth to him. And it's an incredible story. So if you want to hear that story, watch the video. But this is a QR code, and on here is, I created this on my computer, on here is little Chucky's first cries. So I loved that. Now this layout features more photos, so I use these flip flaps. And these, when I'm ready to put this in my page protector, actually I was going to go in his album, I will peel these off and stick them directly onto the front of my page protector, and you won't have to slide it in and out. These will be interactive right on there. So this one will go here, and this one will go, those are my cute little nieces, my other brother's babies. And then this one, this is Christine's mom, this will go right here. And so you'll just be able to flip it up and look at these. And I really loved how this came out. These are the envelopes to this card kit, and these are the cards. So I just cut them and stretched them, and they has the stamp sets, and these are pieces that came in that card kit. Just fun. This is like corrugated. I just really loved this card kit, so this was super fun to create. So this is also an interactive layout, and this uses the Utterly Adorable paper collection by Stampin' Up. So the back side of these papers is otters. And it's just a really cool paper pack because the reverse side is these beautiful tropical colors and watercolors, so like ponds or beach, and that's what I bought it for. So I really loved it. I focused on layering your embellishment clusters, and I really think they came out beautiful. I added some dies and I cut some of them out with glitter paper. There's inking on these embellishments, and then I used a hybrid stamp set. If you have never used a hybrid embossing folder, not stamp set, embossing folder, I highly recommend it. It's amazing. So the die goes into the embossing folder, and it die cuts it and also puts this really cool impressed image into it. I hope the camera's picking that up, but they're really fun to use. These are actually hybrid embossing. You can see the imprint there. These are also hybrid embossing folder and dies as well. I added a little bit of Wink of Stella on there to give it a little bit of shine, and this was just really fun. So this will go in my page protector like this, and this has additional photos here. And this is where my journaling goes, and I have not done my journaling yet on there as well. I wasn't sure if I was going to put my journaling here and just type it up on my computer and print it out, and add another little photo or a little element, or do my journaling there, so I hadn't done it yet. So these pages are of my daughter and her boyfriend, and they went fishing, but they went fishing to this, it was Beck Ranch Park. They went hiking, fishing, and geocaching, and I didn't even know what geocaching was until I created this video and I had to talk to her about it. But so this was a really cool stamp and die cut, and I created all of these little things using those dies, added in some silver foiling to give some of these a little bit more realistic look. And a lot of times if you stamp your things or you die cut them in different colors, cardstock, or add like the foiling here, or here's some cardstock and here's a stamped image, it gives it like a little bit more of a realistic look. And I love that. Like these, I cut these out in this color and then did the plant part of it in, I guess it's all a plant, but the greenery part of it in the green, and it just gives it a little bit more realistic look. I added in some of these banners that have this stitch, and that was always fun. That's fun to do. And got some of those spot on nature circles. You'll see me use these too. This is like another staple you should have. I love these circles. There's different patterns and they're really cool. So this was another fun thing. Let me see if you can see this. So cut this out. This was a die that came with this fishing set right here. And it just put this impression and this slit in to make it look like, you know, when you're pulling it out and you got the little ripple in the water. And that was really cool. And I loved that. So I also wrapped my twine around and kind of added it in to just another little fun little element. And it gives your layout some detail. This was an awesome memory that I really wanted to make sure I documented. This is my little brother, Christopher. And he drove me an hour and a half to my favorite restaurant when I was visiting him up in New England. And I had a great time, and I really appreciate that time we got to spend together. But this was a fun technique where I showed how to use an embossing folder and how to use that as your main pieces in your background. And this is bigger than the embossing folder. So I demonstrated how to do that without creating any creases, and then inked these, and those were super fun to do. So I added some stamping, those hybrid embossing shells right there. And this right here, this was a cool technique as well. The stamp has an outline and then the inside of the image. So I off stamped and then used a sponge dauber to add in the different color before I stamped it. And they gave it a really cool effect, and I loved it. Now I created my own journaling card. I haven't done it yet, so I do need to make sure I tell this story. I do have it on another piece of paper that I need to just kind of write it out on here, but I just used a piece of white cardstock and a ruler and some lines, and then just stamped on there, and that's how I created that. So isn't that fun? Added in the little bubbles and some pearls to finish that off, and I love it. So this layout is that same paper collection, Friends of the Ocean. And this is my other brother. And so this happened to be a year and a half before. He's the one who introduced me to this restaurant. He treated me to this. It was so cool. They brought this food out on a shovel, and it was an awesome experience. And I wanted to take Christopher there. Actually, I wanted Christopher to take me there, my other brother, the layout I just showed you, because I just loved it. So every time I go to New England, I want to visit this restaurant. But this is also going to be interactive. And when I recorded this video, I was at a retreat and I didn't have my printer with me, so I couldn't type up my journaling. So I'm going to have to do that and then put that on that tag, and then slit my page protector, and this will be interactive as well. But honestly, this is kind of high enough that you could probably just reach in and grab it. But this is an ombre paper, and this was part of the pattern paper. This was the back side of the pattern paper, and I just thought it was really cool. And then I created these circles and did this paper tearing ombre effect with different colored cardstocks, this green, to represent the ocean, because I was in New England, and these are things that are in animals in the ocean, shells in the ocean. And I just thought it went really well with the theme. Hooray, 25. This is my daughter Emily's 25th birthday, and actually her birthday was yesterday and she turned 28, so this was 3 years ago. And this is the Wildflower Birthday Collection. And this was super easy to embellish because this paper collection come with all of these dies. They literally punch out really easy, and you get 2 whole sheets of a whole bunch of dies. And it just made my embellishment clusters go together super easy. These are the Spotlight on Nature circle dies, those dies that I showed you that had the different pattern a few layouts back. And I used glitter paper to cut that out just to give it a little bit more sparkle since it was a birthday. I added Winka Stella. I kind of painted that onto my embellishments and put it in the middle of my flowers. And I also did some splattering. I'm hoping the camera will pick that up. So just to give it a sparkle, and I really like how it came out. So I added in those punch out dies along with my metal dies and some stamp sets to give it that really cute. This was a play on her little ribbon for her birthday. Just a really cute little embellishments. So this went together super fast. So these pages use the Frames and Flowers paper collection, and it's a specialty paper collection because you get a sheet of those die cuts, of different die cuts, and also there's like cards and some other like not really journaling strips, but like say kind of border pieces and stuff that you can punch out. I didn't use that on this layout because I wanted to bring in this hibiscus die and hybrid embossing folder, and I brought in all of these leaves, and I just love all these like seaweeds and things. I showed a technique where I used a brush and some on white cardstock. I used blending brushes with a couple different inks and created this ombre effect, and then took the alphabet a la mode. I took my dies and I cut them out, and I really love how that looked. So I concentrated on layering my flowers and my leaves in each one of my clusters, and I really like how they came out. Don't you think this paper was just perfect and meant for these photos? Just gorgeous sunset. So this was down in Key West. We did a sunset cruise for this past anniversary because we really enjoyed the anniversary before. It's beautiful and a lot of fun. Now this is that same little baby, little Chucky that I showed you, the layout that I showed you before, where we all met him. So I used this little stats stamp and used a journaling pen to write in here. This is what I'm using for my journaling, and this has all of his information in there. So clouds, I created this cloud with a die. This is a Stampin' die. Clouds is a perfect way. Clouds, tags, stars. When you're looking for embellishments to do a baby layout. And then there was this fun little onesie stamp. So I stamped it on the pattern paper, and then I stamped it on cardstock. And then they have this little, I die cutted them, and they have this little stamp that I just kind of put on top of them. And I layered these. This has got 2 layers on here. Adds a little bit of dimension without using foam tape, so without adding too much dimension. And it also gives it kind of that more layered look, and I really liked that. So this was super fun to create. This layout right here was a memory I was so happy to be able to document. So this is 3 of my daughters, and they attended a Masquerade ball, and it was these 2, Jocelyn and Isabella's, first time ever going to a dance, and this was Faith's second time attending a dance, and we had a great time. I got to chaperone it, so I just got to see how much fun they had. These girls danced till their feet hurt and then took their shoes off and kept dancing anyways. This layout was also a collaboration here on YouTube. It was a celebration of my friend Erin Jacobson, her reaching 30,000 YouTube subscribers. So a bunch of us who create videos here on YouTube scraplift one of Erin's layouts, and this was my interpretation. So this is the Lovely Gardens paper collection, and I used all dies here, so there is no stamping on any of these flowers. They're just dies, and I added ink and a little bit of paper. I did a little technique here, and then I did some controlled ink splattering, 1st and 2nd generation. Put my journaling on a tag, told my story. I started doing this too. I started typing out the actual date and kind of sticking that somewhere, and I like that. And you can always put that in on your journaling, but these butterflies, aren't those adorable, these little gold butterflies? So I really, really loved the way this layout came out. This adorable layout and this adorable little baby is my grandson Ezekiel, and this is his 5-month milestone photos. And I'm sorry, my son does not want his photos on social media, so out of respect, I have to cover those up. But this, I had so much fun creating all these leaves and adding all these details in with these little dinosaurs. And would you believe that this paper collection is all florals? It is all florals. So I created this dinosaur masculine layout, and I really loved it. And honestly, it could be for a little girl too. You could have it just like this. You could do like little pink dinosaurs, and it would be beautiful. When I cut these letters out here, I cut them out twice and then just kind of offset them and did a little bit of ink distressing on them to give them that fun detail and that look, and I really love those. I have some hidden journaling right here, and I just I love that. So my page protector again is cut, and you can just pull that out real easily. Added in some more of those Spotlight on Nature dies. I'm telling you, I've used these so much. They're fabulous. But I really loved how this came out. So this is the Weekend Adventures paper collection, and I really love how this came out. I love how they all come out. This is my son Jonas, and this was the first time he went fishing. We were visiting friends in Georgia, and her son gladly helped Jonas and taught him a few things, and he was very patient, so I loved it. He was just sweet doing that for my son. And we were just down by the water, and we had a great time. But I did some paper tearing here, added in some cardstock, did a little bit of inking here for my sand. And that was kind of what I was going for. I was going for like the water, the sand, and then all the trees in the background when I did my pattern paper. So I do that a lot of times. I think of where we're at, and I think of my photos and what am I trying to capture. So definitely I want to show Jonas fishing, so I added in all the fishing stuff, but it was water and sand and dirt, you know, and trees. So these are some dies and some stamps. This was a really cool, like the inside of a tree trunk if you cut it off. So I really liked that, and just added some inking behind my letters and just really gave them a little extra pop. And so I really love how this came out. This layout right here, this is Take to the Sky paper collection. And this is the same paper that I used when I created that baby layout of little Chucky when he first arrived. I showed you at the beginning of this video. This layout took me a year to create. And I know you're like, why? I started this layout and I had different papers in my background. And I knew when this paper collection came out, I had these photos of my son, and I hadn't documented them yet, of when he turned 18, and it was during COVID. He graduated that at the same time, and it was just it was a hard time. His brother had left for the military, and you couldn't do anything or really go anywhere. So I arranged for him to be able to fly a plane, and he had never flown before. This guy here was fabulous. He taught my son what he needed to. He sat in the back, and he just talked my son through what to do, and he let my son fly this plane, and he did an amazing job, and he had a great time. It was definitely an awesome experience. So you'll see me in this video where I just kind of take the layout apart and I change my papers up, and then I love it. I think it came out fabulous. I just added in some clouds because of the sky, and here's more of the Spotlight on Nature dies, and I just really liked how this came out. So can you see the little birds? I stamped the little birds on there. It's so cute. This little cutie right here is my niece, Charlotte, and she's feisty, but she is the most sweet, loving little girl there is, and I adore her. This was Charlotte's graduation from kindergarten, and I was really happy that her mommy sent me the photos, so I was able to document those. And I just created this banner here with die cuts, and I just did a little bit of inking around them to kind of make them stand up a little bit more and blend everything in. And this was really fun to create. Here's that Spotlight on Nature die again. These make for great landing places for your embellishment clusters, and it's something for them to lay on to make them stand up a little bit more from the background. So I thought this came out really cute. Cute as can be. This is also Cute as Can Be paper collection, and this is Charlotte's sister, Lillian. And this was Lillian's 7th birthday, and I was super excited to be able to be there to celebrate with her. And this is also an interactive layout, so you can pull that journaling tag out. My memory protector is cut, and I just really love this. I pulled in a lot of glitter papers, and I added glitter into my title and used that alphabet a la mode dies, and then the mini alphabet dies. I love those dies. They're like perfect. And just added in some fun little words. These balloons just were amazing. And then I used like a little banner thing down here, did a little ink distressing, and I love how this came out. Isn't she sweet? So this is another interactive layout, and this is made with that, this was done with that same Country Woods, that wood grain paper collection I showed you, but I also used the Utterly Adorable paper collection, and I showed you in this video, I brought in several different papers and talked about paper choices and how I came up with this. I just love this little fish, and I definitely wanted to use this. Isn't this beach really fun? It's like so cool. So this is my son Jonas's 12th birthday, and he wanted to go to the beach for his birthday, and we found this really cool beach. So I did a little bit of inking behind my title, did my journaling here, tucked it in, add some inking around here, pulled in some embellishments and did inking on those as well, like the same as I've done before. And this layout has flip flaps. Now I haven't put this in Jonas's layout yet, or I'm sorry, in Jonas's album yet, but these will go right on the front of it and flip up. So this is a fantastic way. I know I just showed you these before, but this is a fantastic way, these flip flaps, to add in more photos or even your journaling. And you can stack these, so you can add many of these, and you can even get the ones with a sticky on the side so they can flip this way, flip out, flip down. So these are a super fun way to add in more photos or even little memory things you want to save. So this was my husband and I's first time to Cocoa Beach, and it was actually an anniversary trip, our 24th wedding anniversary trip. And this paper in the background, isn't that really cool? This is from, I think it's the Everyday Memories paper collection. This was like this, so it was this really pretty, like, it reminded me of like water and then sand down below, and it kind of goes up at like an angle, and I really loved this, so I used this as my main paper in the background. Here, I'll show you. The back of it is this pattern, so it's just pattern paper. And I love how it came out. I added in these darker mats, which is not even in the paper collection, but I thought they went together perfectly. They captured my photos, and it gave it the look that I wanted it to have. So I did a little bit of, I did some embossing with embossing powder on these. This is that hybrid sand dollar. I just did it in a different way, and I showed how to do that in the embossing, in the embossing folder, and it was a really cool technique. I love the way that looks. Added some inking around my stamps, and this is one of the fun stickers that came with that paper collection. I thought it kind of went pretty well. And my title, I cut these out with this is the alphabet a la mode, and this one I just cut out a second one and then offset it, and I like how that looks together. So yeah, here is my sweet little grandson again. I wish I could show you, like, his eyes are so blue, and he's got like his biggest smile, like his whole mouth is open. He's got the biggest smile on his face. He's always so happy and smiling. So this is the Storybook paper collection. I loved it. It reminds me of Peter Rabbit, and I told this really sweet story about that in this video. This is that Spotlight on Nature dies again. All three of these, you see how they're different? I have different ones. They're really cool. And I did some ink, some stamping and inking on that. And these are dies, and I just love how they created these frames. So this is part of this paper collection has those punch outs. This went together super fast. It has a sheet of, or two sheets of these like little animal punch outs and things, and they just pop right out with your little finger, so you don't have to stamp anything or color anything. They're made for really fast and easy scrapbooking, and I love that. Now these right here were part of those sheets as well. But this right here, these are die cuts, and I went ahead and I layered this one. I think I layered this one 2 or 3 times, and then did a little inking around, and it just gave it a lot more dimension from this one right here, and I really like that. It's an easy way to add dimension without making it too bulky and not using foam tape. So yeah, this also was a collaboration of for my friend Julie Carrier. She had a 10,000 YouTube subscribers. And this is done with 6x6 paper. So I made this 12x12 double page layout using some 6x6 paper. So yeah, I really love how this came out. This is another layout of Ezekiel with that same storybook paper collection that reminded me of Peter Rabbit, and more of those cutouts that were in that paper. This is actually the paper, and I just cut it out to frame in those little frames. And look at, I love these little books. So I loved creating this. This is another interactive layout where I told the story here. And I told two stories here. So I had two different stories to tell here. One from the past and one from the future, one from now. And yeah, you should definitely check out that video. I had a lot of fun creating this. Salty Kisses. So this was another fun title that I created, and I did this like I did the sunset one, where I did the ombre look with my blending brushes and then cut those letters out, and I really like how they came out. Added that little bit of inking to give it a little bit more detail in the background. Here's where I added that date on and kind of gave it like a little tab look. And this, I focused on layering my embellishments as well, and I really love how they came out. So this is some of those easy punch outs like in the storybook collection that I was talking about when I showed you the first frames and flower layout that I did, which was this one. So this one, I didn't use any of the die cuts that came in the paper collection. These are just little paper dies. But I use them on here, and I absolutely love how those added into, aren't those cute? I love how those added into my stamps and my dies and just gave it a really fun look. So these are also embossed with embossing powder in that hybrid emboss and folder in dies, and I showed you how to do that. So I finished that off with some little pearls. And I really love that. So this is also an interactive layout, and this is more of our anniversary trip to Cocoa Beach. So this layout right here I did recently on my channel for the 4th of July. These are 6x6 paper pads. This is the Regals paper collection. And then I use this really cool irresistible paper, and which is completely white and has all these irresistibles over them, and I colored them this color. I showed how to do that, and I love, and you can make them any color you want, and I love how this came out. So I added in a little glitter, some little off stamping, you know, the little fireworks in the background, and some stars, and I also added on these, I'm sorry, this is not glitter paper. I did this with the Wink of Stella. All of this I did with the Wink of Stella, and I showed you how I did that. And these are really cool because this is like a big die, and I showed how I cut this up and I pieced it together and added the colors in the background and added inking to it and just cut it out in the different colors, and that is how I was able to do these flowers, and I love it. And look at that, my little fireworks ribbon there on top and twine. So here's my story, my journaling, and yeah, and the date down here, and I love how this came out. So this is another 4th of July layout that I did here recently, and I used the Kintsugi paper collection by Stampin' Up, and I also used the Regals paper. All the paper I use is by Stampin' Up, but I used those Regals, those 6x6 paper, and some cardstock, and stamped my cardstock. But I also used these really cool party banners that are new, and I love them. They are definitely a must-have. They're big, and there's so many, and you get like they come like really big, and then you get really small ones. So there's so many of those. You can pick whichever size you want. And this is one of them, and I used it to turn it into my journaling. I just figured I had to show you so you knew what I was talking about, but there's so many dies, and they got this curve in them, and I love it. So it's not like this straight thing. So you can choose just whatever size you need, and they are fantastic. So this is also part of that Country Woods paper collection. I told you I add this wood grain into a lot of my layouts because it's just so versatile. I love this. Did a little bit of inking and a little bit of controlled splatter again. So this is also that Kintsugi paper collection, and I love how this came out. This paper right here reminded me so much of water, and we are at the fireworks on the water, like we are on this tall bridge over the bridge. This is over the St. Johns River, and this was our first time attending fireworks in Florida, and it was beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? So this is also an interactive layout. So I told my story here and then added additional photos onto here, and I showed and talked about how I did these. So that is super fun. My letters here are also ombre, and I did this the same way I did those other letters and then just offset them. It just really gives it a pop to do something like that. And then I build these little scenes with my dies and did a little some sanding and inking, and this came out so cute. I really like it. This was such a fun time. So this is the Marbled Elegance paper collection, and I had attended my my uplines retreat, and this was our team training retreat, and it was so much fun. So I used some of the everybody, they did little pill gifts. Like everybody that came brought little gifts for everybody and went around and put them on the table throughout the entire weekend. And this was on one of my little gifts that I got. And I thought, how cool would that be to make it the title? And if you can see this gold paper back here, this is also using that Spotlight on Nature dies. And I pull in some older stamps that I had that were Western themed, because this was definitely Western theme. It was in Texas. And this was a retired stamp from Close to My Heart, and I just pulled those in to add those, to give it that country feel. And then I also used these, so these go right in the middle of my page protectors. I loved all these photos, and I couldn't decide, so I wanted it into one layout, so I used these little pocket pages and just added in some more photos and some mementos. Now this little thing right here, this was sitting on my table when I got there, and I wanted to save that, and I just used this to store like some of my mementos. Actually, I have a few more, but I took them out so they didn't fall out when I was showing you this. But I met some really fabulous people, and I just love them all. So yeah, this was fun. So this is another layout I just did recently on my channel, and this uses a lot of vellum. Yes, this is all vellum. It's gorgeous. This is the Floral and Gingham vellum, and then the Floral Delight paper collection. And I loved it. This is my little daughter, Jocelyn. This little girl here is my daughter, Jocelyn. She is 14. This was on her birthday, but this is just a little photo shoot that her sister did of her. So I didn't want to make it birthday, but I wanted to show this is 14. So this is where she's at 14. This was super fun, and I did this with dies. Again, here's those Spotlight on Nature circles. Stamped this one. I cut that out here as well. I love that. And then brought that same stamp that you saw me, or that same stamp that you saw me use on where I went to my team retreat. I brought those same cowboy boots and hat in because she is my little cowgirl. So I really love this. This uses those new party dies, the party alphabet, and these are a game changer. You can do so many things with them. Actually, the next layout I show you, I've used them as well, but I'm thinking of like shaker pieces, and I am so excited. I love these. But this is where I brought in that wood grain again. So that same Country Woods paper I added in the background here. And these letters are cut out with that Country Woods paper collection. So yeah, I really love how this came out. You guys, this is my little water baby grandson. He loves the water. He's 7 months old. This was 6 months. He was 7 months old, and he literally tries to swim. He just is a natural. And this was his first time. His daddy, my son, took him into the pool, and I love the colors, and his eyes just match the water. They're just gorgeous. And he loved it. He was just splashing and splashing. And so I wanted to document that memory. So this was super fun, where I showed how to do this ink smushing. And this is part of that ink smushing. And then I printed out my journaling on some clear label paper, typed it up, and you could see it in the background, and I just loved how that came out. This is also those banners that I showed you, the party banners. I did the school of fish, and these, like the coral and the stingrays and the shark and the dolphin. This was all done with a stamp and die set. But these letters right here are that same party alphabet letter that I just showed you. And I cut little bubbles out of it and to give it that water effect. And I really love how that came out. And this paper right here is that utterly adorable paper collection. The one that I showed you a couple times, where I did tropical layouts, where I went to Key West, and then also where I did beach layouts. But this is the paper that has the otters all on the back of it. So see how you could totally do it for the pool. Okay, I know it's July, but all the Halloween stuff is out already, and I wanted to make sure I gave you a little bit of ideas and showed you some of these that I did from this past Halloween. So this is the Halloween Memories Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. And I didn't create the kit as it was. I just got the papers and supplies and did my own things. But when I created this layout, this is my daughter Emily and her boyfriend Dakota. And he walked around. This is a big deal. It's a costume, a yearly thing that they do. It's a whole entire block costume party down in Sanford. And he walked around on stilts this entire time. So I just thought they did a great job. They work really hard on their costumes. Like there's money involved, like prizes and stuff like that. So it's a big deal. But this one, I went ahead and I looked at my photo and I saw kind of like, I don't know, this reminds me of like mold kind of, and just how the brick is chipped away and the painting. And so I used an embossing folder. Yes, this whole back thing is a regular size embossing folder, and I showed how to do that to where you can't see there's any kind of lines or anything. And let me show you a little bit, give you a little bit more detail of that. So when I did this, I tried to mimic this, and I added a little bit of the black down here and kind of going up behind my photo. And I love how so this inspiration came from my photo. So I really loved how that came out, and just kind of created this with a different shape that I had. And yeah, so I embossed this, heat embossed this, and added the little bubbles, and the little ooze dripping out of the cauldron. And I just thought this was super fun. I did some splattering in the background with my black paint. So one more Halloween layout. This is with that same Halloween Memories scrapbooking kit. And I love this. We all worked so hard. Like, look at how serious my daughter looks. They are so funny. So they definitely pulled off their costumes, my little princess and everything. And we worked really hard on getting dressed up and just having fun. And I really like how this came out. I did some stamping in the background, some blending, stamped my title on, and did some splattering. And these were stamps, and these were part of the stickers that came in that collection. This is the paper, so that was super cool. Like, I didn't even have to add that detail. It was the paper. Brought in more of those bubbles, and these were all stickers to it, to this paper collection. And I just love this. So these are dies. I thought that came out really cute. And there was really no need for journaling. It kind of explains it. I just made sure I put the date down here. I really hope you enjoyed this layout share. I had a lot of fun doing it. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and please leave me a comment and tell me which one is your absolute favorite layout. If you would subscribe to my channel, I am trying to grow my YouTube channel, and I absolutely love doing this, so I really appreciate your support. I'm putting another video up on screen right now that I really think that you're going to enjoy. Till next time, friends.